Welcome back to the show. We give you all the Dolphins news you need to know about. This news update is concerning Orlando Franklin. It's a very interesting topic. Obviously, Dolphins fans are wondering what the big holdup is because of the Dolphins' needed guard. And Orlando Franklin, when he's healthy, he's a pretty dang good guard. So let's get into this. So we did get two, telling things from Orlando Franklin's agent. This is a quote from Orlando Franklin's agent. He says, quote, "I called the Miami Dolphins and really pushed it because I think that's one area they could really use improvement." He goes on to say, Orlando Franklin's agent, that the signing is unlikely and nothing is close to even getting done. So it's interesting. When you look at the Miami Dolphins offensive line, obviously there are holes at that left guard position. Even excluding, I'm not even going to talk about Jerron Bushrod, who is, shaky at best at times. Obviously, he's been durable, but I'm not even going to talk about Jerron Bushrod. I'm going to talk about the left guard position. When you look at what the Dolphins have there, they have Ted Larson, who, when he was a Chicago Bear, obviously got benched and could not stay healthy. The last 2 seasons with Ted Larson, he's been, I don't even really think you can make an argument that his play has been okay. I think that would be a very hard argument to make. So Ted Larson, I don't think is the answer there. Obviously, they drafted Isaac Asiata, who I'm a big fan of. I think Isaac is a very, very good football player. But there are questions how far along he is in his development, and if he's actually there yet, or does he need time to develop, we don't know. Because he can't, at some point in Isaac Asiata's career, he's going to be a very good player, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a very solid starter on the offensive line. I think he's going to be a pretty dang good guard, but who knows how long that's going to take him. So when you look at Orlando Franklin, Orlando Franklin in the beginning of his career, obviously he started at tackle, then they switched him to guard, and when the Broncos switched him to guard, he was very successful. I can't remember what season it was, but in Pro Football Focus at a point in his career, he was the second best rated guard in the entire NFL, only allowing 1 quarterback pressure. I think he had the highest grade in pass protection. So Orlando Franklin, when his Bronco career, if you just take his Denver Bronco career at guard, he's a very, 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 very good football player. He's a very, 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 very good football player. But insanely good play earned him a 5-year deal with the San Diego Chargers. And then when he took the deal with the Chargers, he just wasn't the same player. Injuries really played a big part of why he wasn't the same guy. Obviously, he missed 6 games over the last 2 seasons he was with the San Diego Chargers. And then you look at why the Chargers let him go. And they thought he was a liability in passing and pass block situations. They thought he was inconsistent in practice. He wasn't always there in practice because of his injuries. So the biggest reason I think why the Chargers really let him go was obviously they drafted Dan Finney, the kid from Indiana, and then they drafted Forrest Lamp, who's the biggest name from Western Kentucky, who was an absolute steal. So they've definitely wanted to move on from Orlando just because I think the consistency wasn't there. He wasn't the same player he used to be because of the injuries. But then again, when you look at the history of Gase, obviously he played in an Adam Gase system at one point in his career. He's very familiar with it. Obviously, Mike McCoy, Adam takes a lot from a Mike McCoy system, which Orlando played under for a very, very long period of time. So it's going to be interesting. I think he's in terms of a fit on the Dolphins roster, I think he fits perfectly. If he could stay healthy, I think he's a great signing for the Miami Dolphins. It really depends if he can can he be the same player he was with the Broncos? If he can, it would be a steal. But if he can't, then I think he's just as I don't think he's better than anybody on that offensive line. Because when you do, he was not good with the Chargers. He was very inconsistent. Like the Chargers say, he was a liability. And passing downs. Interesting player because if he can, he's only 29 years old. He's only 29 years old, by the way. So he's not out of his prime. It's just, can he stay healthy? A healthy Orlando Franklin is a very, very good player. He's one of the best players at his position if he can stay healthy. And I definitely think he fits the system. He's played in this system before, so he can come in. I don't think that's going to be a problem for him. So I think he's a good fit. I think he's definitely, if he's healthy, better than what we have right now at the guard position. There's just too many question marks on the Dolphins offense in terms of that guard position. I know Ted Larson isn't a good guard. I know that for a fact. I don't know if Isaac Asiata, how far along in his progression is. Obviously in Utah, he played at a pro-style offense, And obviously that almost that entire Utah offensive line was drafted because of the fact that they played in a very, very, very close to, obviously they played in a pro-style offense, so transition to the NFL should be fairly smooth. So maybe Isaac is the answer there, but then again, he is a prospect. I do think Isaac Asiata is the answer there. So back to Orlando Franklin, and one of the reasons this is just my guess. When you look at what the Dolphins have said in terms of, they've been asked this question many times. What would you do if a big name guy was cut from a team, maybe older in age, maybe like an Evan Mathis type of a guy who's a pretty dang good player, but teams just either drafted a young guy that they think is going to be their future. Yada yada yada, you get what I'm saying. And their answer was they're very, very content for who they have in the building now. And I think the biggest reason, not only that, the fact that they want that, that continuity and that chemistry with that offensive line, I think that's a total bullcrap. I don't believe that. But the second thing, I think the biggest reason, is money. I think that's the biggest reason he's not a Dolphin yet, is because whatever he's asking for, whatever his agent asked for when he did reach out to the Dolphins, obviously was not. The Dolphins do not value guards that highly, which is interesting. I don't know if Adam Gase doesn't. I don't know if it's a Mike Tannenbaum or is it an Adam Gase thing. I think it's probably more of a Mike Tannenbaum thing than it is an Adam Gase thing. I could be totally wrong on that. I'm just guessing, but they really do not value guards that highly. And obviously, they're trying to save cap room to extend some of the players on the roster, so that factors in. People like Devontae Parker. Obviously, Jarvis Landry still hasn't got his extension, so you have to factor in that as well. But I don't think when you look at what the Dolphins did, they clearly do not value guards that highly. They passed on a lot of guards. They passed on Ronald Leary, Chance Warmack, Zach Zeitler, all of whom got all big contracts. They also passed on TJ Lang. And obviously the Dolphins weren't willing to give him that much money. But guard is a very, very, offensive line in general is a very important part of an offense being successful. When you look at the most successful offenses in the NFL, like the Steelers, like the Cowboys, the Raiders, they all have consistent, durable offensive lines, and that's something that the Dolphins need to make sure that they. And I think the Dolphins should at least bring him in for a visit, maybe give him a physical, see where he is where he is at this point of in his career. So that's basically it, guys. That's all the news I have on Orlando Franklin. And I am Skag1383. Let me know what you guys think about Orlando Franklin. Should he be a Dolphin? Shouldn't he be a Dolphin? Do you have more faith in Isaac? Do you have faith in Ted? And I will see you guys in the next one.